we have officially made it past 20 episodes, though.
Wow.
So we're officially in the 1%.
Yeah.
What do you mean the 1%?
1% of podcasts.
Oh, because most people quit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most people
No shit.
most people are out by the first.
They don't make it to 20.
Why do you think
most
that is?
people
Do you think that is because they don't get the gratification of blowing up or something?
You want to know what it is? It's because like there's not that many interesting people to talk to, and
That's true.
people aren't inherently interesting.
Yeah.
So when I think about like even doing like home team episodes like we're doing now,
Yeah.
to do this, you have to have something to say. And I don't think there's a lot of people that have a lot of shit to say. So
Yeah,
it's
like they don't have like that. Well, first off, like you said, they don't have somebody interesting because a podcast revolves around interesting people or people that have stories or people that are like, have personalities. And then on top of it, I feel like you were saying too as well, it's like, and then what do you talk about, bro? Like I don't even know how to explain that in a sense.
And I feel like it's also discipline too. Like no one wants to start. You look at a podcast, you're staring up a mountain. It's like, how am I going to get to 20 episodes to be in the top 1%? We just started a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We got some dope guests.
I mean, that's
what I think made it more enjoyable for all of us.
That's the beauty of our business. Is they really just started off as our clients were our guests, and our clients just happen to be fucking dope ass people.
Yeah.
And then like we did, I think there's a balance because it's like when you're starting your podcast, we were grinding, like going out, getting guests, like traveling all over the world. Like a podcast is a business in and of itself.
Oh, for sure.
It really is a business
For
in
sure.
and of itself. So playing like if you're a hobbyist, like you'll get hobbyist results. And I think that's at least what I've recognized and why now I'm like not as stressed with how can we get the best guests on? I'm like, how can we inherently be interesting enough to where people want to come back and watch and view and follow along and be a part of it.
You know what I think the thing is too, though, with this industry specifically, podcasting, video creating, like anything that deals with being creative, dude, the numbers are something that too many people care about, right? So you care too much about what your numbers show. Like use like example, like the Twitch streamers, right? That guy Jinxie, he averaged 1 viewer for almost a year. And he never gave up. He kept doing it. He just kept doing it. And then all of a sudden he had that one break where it was like, boom. And now look at him. Huge. And that's the same concept with a podcast, bro. It's like, if you just enjoy what you're doing, like I could get used to this, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It's fun. Like it's just interacting and documenting it. But if you care too much about your viewership and how many views you get, then I could see you falling off.
Again, it's super easy. Like we're at least in a blessed situation where we built a company that can handle even the turnover of something like this.
Yeah.
Like obviously Tone Dog is a fucking man for that. But
Tone Dog.
Tony.
Wouldn't be easy.
Tony.
But I think there's that aspect of it. The motivation part of it is it's like a uncomfortable thing to like always want to have to like get in front of a camera, sit down, talk. Like right now, it's fucking, we're 5 minutes in and I feel like I haven't said a fucking word yet. And it's like, but that's just a part of the day-to-day of it. But the thing that I love about podcasting and the reason why I feel like I could do it for hundreds of episodes before making $1 is just because it's fucking conversations without phones.
Yeah.
It's so funny that we're in a position now in the world where we need cameras on in 3 different directions to put our phones down and just have
that is true.
Personal conversation. It's like this is the most authentic. Like I'll probably have conversations like today we have back-to-back podcasts. I'll have 3 hours of uninterrupted conversation. How many people in a day-to-day
can say that they do that?
Nobody.
Because usually when you're having a conversation with somebody, usually they pull out their phone and check something and then they get distracted. But like with this, it's kind of hard to do that because you're having a conversation itself. You don't want to like pull out your phone and look like that guy. You know what I mean?
It locks you in.
It does lock you in.
You know what I love that we do too? It's like just rolling into it.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the show notes and our guest today is John Zimmerman. He's going to talk about his videographer career.
Yeah.
Like, I love that we were in a conversation. Tony gets it rolling. We talk.
I think that's also it's dependent on the situation. So if you do if we did 4 episodes, 5 episodes of just this crew, unless like we're gonna get into the fact that I almost got robbed this weekend, like we'll talk about things. But if you don't have experiences to like draw on, that's why I like show notes are super important for the right shows, because you need shit to pull off. Like the guest shit, I fucking hate the show notes. It's like if you don't know the guest, and that's why I've gotten into this phase of like I don't really want guests that I just don't want on the show, if that makes sense. Like if I don't find them interesting and we're not big enough to have on the people that I want on the show, then fuck it. Like we're just not gonna rely on guests. Like we'll get guests when people want to come on the show, and if people are, if I sit down with somebody and I can flow in a conversation with them, then let's podcast. Let's fucking do it. Sure. But if not, it's like, what the fuck are we gonna do that for? It's a lot of people have. Did you guys see Sage Steele with the Dana White?
No.
Like Sage Steele started a podcast and she had Dana White on, and one of her questions was, "What is Joe Rogan's dream?" Like I think it was like a mind bender, like where she had a moment where it's like white bald dude, like, oh, Joe Rogan. But it goes back to the fact that like probably a booker booked Dana White on Sage's show. Sage probably knows of Dana White, knows that Dana White has this big media personality, but doesn't give a actual fuck about, UFC. Like she doesn't give a fuck, but she puts her on a show, and then midway through the show she's ended up asking, "What's your dream, Joe Rogan?" And just asking a question of what's your dream to another person on a podcast is like, I'm not judging in that sense, but it's like the lowest fucking like, oh, what's your dream, Zimm, what's your dream, what are your, it's like a fucking empty, it's an empty question. It's like, oh, I don't fucking know. I want to be an NFL player. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, but like kid, that's the phase that we're in with podcasting. Is like people have like there's bookers and there's all these things. It's like, what are the best and the best doing? Joe Rogan and all those people, like Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, Theo Vaughn. Theo Vaughn probably has a booker, I'd imagine. But if you watch Theo Vaughn's podcast, it honestly can be uncomfortable at points because you can feel him just naturally finding things that he wants to talk to the other person about. Yeah. And that in a normal conversation is not like seamless. It's not like, what are your dreams? It's like nobody's fucking doing that.
I think it all comes down to the host. I think I said this to you last night. Host, like I don't watch Joe Rogan Experience for anything but I know Joe's gonna ask some fucking awesome questions, and I know his guests are gonna be good. Similar to why people watch ours is because Jamie has some good questions. That's what sets us apart.
Jamie always tees up good questions.
He does. He really.
I didn't realize how important
we have 25 25 average viewers.
I didn't realize how.
It's all about shorts. That's all I'm getting at.
That's true.
Podcasting for me is all about shorts. It's free marketing. You just pump all that shit out. Yeah. And that's where good questions come from.
Well, I want to talk about this idea because we're all in the creative space, but the next level that I think, at least with our company, and we talked about this, is partnering with podcasts. Like I was talking to one of our buddies, Bobby, about this the other day, and we were talking about the fact that we're on the cutting edge of where social media is going. Like we all are in this room. Like we're always kind of staying on top of it, so it's easy for us to feel like we're behind. But the thing that I recognized is YouTube, email newsletter. These are assets. Instagrams, they're assets, which inherently have value associated with them. So if you have an Instagram account with 1 million+ followers, that has a attached value to it. And the thing that I recognize about podcast is you're never going to get away from the fact that you need a good host. You're never going to get away from the fact that you need good guests. But if you have those things, well, now you have a legit asset. And if the show idea is good, like we have, who we're talking about, we can't say it out loud, but like there's a podcast that we're working with right now who their idea is fucking genius. And there's a high barrier to entry to even actually do the show. Yeah. They have to do a bunch of equipment shit. Like they have to invest a lot into the setup to actually make it go off. But that's where we're going, at least in my eyes, with podcasting. Like you can't just sit down and just start rolling with like, I mean, you can, but it's just going to take you a long time to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that people have the patience for.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that patience.
Before we got into this, Zimm was kind of telling us about his backstory. Tony asked him a good question. It was good. So
what?
I want to switch gears.
Oh, you want to switch
Tell me
gears?
about, dude, you were walking around, abandoned homes and shit?
Yeah.
What was that all about?
That's how I started, man. Everybody always asked me like that $1 million question. How'd you get into this? And I was like, oh, if you only fucking knew, dude. You think I'm weird as shit. Dude, I remember, so I worked at this job. I always worked like restaurant jobs, and most of the time, I mean, dude, I was out of college. I didn't have shit to do. So I was like just trying to grind. And so I started with like one day off, and that one day transitioned into 2 days off because I saw this like passion of mine come out of nowhere. I liked when people always ask me, what are you doing? Where you're going? Why are you doing this? Because a lot of people just use their days off to like decompress and like do nothing and like lay around and shit. And so my ex and I would every 2 days I had off, I would plan a trip. And that trip went from like going to Washington, D.C. to like doing all these things to then it turned into like this love for like abandoned buildings and shit. And so we would travel. I would find locations every week. I would go on my phone and I'd like look up these really weird buildings. And I just started going to them. And the first two I went to, I didn't like have a camera. I didn't have anything. And I was like, dude, I could see where this could go if I was to document it. And so I bought a camera and I started vlogging like the experiences, and like the places were like giant insane asylums, bro. Like nobody's just walking in there, dude. It was very. First off, you'd sneak in, so you had this like level of like mystique. You had to be quiet. You had to be because you got a federal trespassing charge, and so we did that. And everything was like, some of these places were like the most haunted place in Maryland I've done twice. I've done abandoned turnpikes, honeymoon resorts, bro. And it was just so cool. I was like, the world's got to see this shit. And so I was like, my buddies were YouTubers, and I was like, well, if these guys can do it, because their personality they had a personality, but it was more aimed at like kids and stuff. And I was like, well, dude, if I just showed my personality, I think I could like make it. And so, I was like, well, how do I do this differently? Because I saw there was people on YouTube who were doing it, and I was like, yo, it comes down to like the intro. Like, it's got to be cool. Like, what if I could make it cinematic? So I would fly. I had a drone. Like my ex got me a drone for my birthday and shit. And I remember I would fly the drone. I would film on my camera, and I would create these cool little hype intros. And when I look back at it, like where I'm at now, they're cringe. But then there was some ones that I was like, damn, that was good. But it taught me how to piece stuff together. It also kind of gave me my style of like when I go back and forth in the music and stuff. And it just set me up. That was like the one thing that really turned videography into something that I was super passionate about, And then that transpired into, I liked it so much. I was like, oh man, I'm going to start doing free gigs for everybody in town. So I would just hit people up and be like, yo, can I do this? Can I do that? And, I still never forget the first job. I posted about it before, but the first job I ever did was like that I got paid was for a box company, bro. It's like so fucking weird. Like this guy is like, yo, come in and film this box machine. It boxes so much faster than what people do. And I was like, okay. So I'm flying the drone in this warehouse and I'm filming this machine building boxes. And I remember at the end of the day, he gave me a check for $500, and dude, I was like, $500. Holy fuck. That's a lot of money, dude. I'm like, damn, like all for this. And yeah, that was pretty surreal. So it's funny to see where I'm at now versus
But that's the process though. I think it's interesting to be in the phase that we're in now, because what we all are in participating in content, like content is just another way that it's an art form.
Yeah.
But what I've recognized now is content, the value of content has just increasingly got more and more and more and more valuable.
Oh,
to
100%.
where, 2015, I don't think people knew the importance of content creation in the way that we know it now. But the value of it, like, think about a coder, like somebody that codes.
Yeah.
Somebody that codes has the same creativity that a content creator does. Somebody that is an architect has the same, like, everybody has the innate skill set of wanting to create something from nothing.
Exactly.
It's just this phase of what we do, there's less process associated with it. So if you're an engineer, there's only one way you can build a building and it not fall. There's a lot of ways you can cut up a video, and there is no real process to it. The process is very individualized.
Exactly. It's what that person sees, because everybody's completely different. What I will say is crazy, dude, to really think about it is the time that I got into videography was it's always been a thing. Like, content creating's always been a thing. YouTube, all that stuff was a thing. But whenever I got into it, I feel it was prime, bro. Like, fucking prime, because TikTok, Instagram Reels, that has transformed the way that people look at social media. Let's be fucking real. Like, most people wouldn't want to hire, like, nobody would just be like, oh, I need a videographer for this. I need to document this. But now that social media is so real and that people can change their lives and document and get like organic growth and people coming to their page and supporting their business or whatever it may be because of that, that era kind of just came around. Like, let's be real. Like, I feel like,
when did Reels come out?
Bro, that's
2019.
Within the last 4 to 5 years,
3 years, bro. 3 years. 3 years.
Reels is still pretty new too.
I remember Instagram, TikTok was first. Well, Vine was first.
It was like the first short form content.
And that changed the fucking game.
Videos only too.
Change people's lives.
6 seconds only.
Change people's lives. It's 6 seconds.
The Paul brothers came from there.
Yeah, everybody came from there. Everybody, all the OGs came from there. And then you had like that era of TikTokers, like all the famous TikTokers now were the ones that started.
Bryce Hall, like
when it was nothing.
Every time there has been a new format that has come out, there are people like Logan Paul is now one of the biggest entertainers in the fucking world. And he got his start on a brand new platform. That's why I think in everybody's perspective, it's like, how much are you staying on that? Like, are you jumping on new platforms? Are you like, Gary Vee talks about like day trading attention, where he has no feelings of love towards individual platforms. He has feelings and loves towards the attention. So where is the attention? Where is there more attention and less actual supply of content? And like, go to those places. Which is, I mean,
because it's cool how that all in turn, like, a new platform comes out like TikTok. Bro, I can remember back in the day when TikTok started and I started utilizing the app, bro. When I was doing the Urbex shit, dude, and bro, I'll never forget this. I snuck into a naval base. It was actually like an entire base. It was an empty town. There's like shit all over the place, all these cool like vehicles and stuff like that. And I remember I posted a video, and I was legitimately like sneaking in, like the videos and everything. The video got like 750,000 views on TikTok, bro. When I tell you that I was getting emails from like the local like, police force and like local people. And then I'm getting DMs like asking me about, how do you get in? How do you do this? I realized how powerful it was. And that was the first video. That was like back when on TikTok, not a lot of people were using it. So if you went viral, it was easier to go viral, I should say. And so now they make it so fucking hard for people to like explode. But it's just wild, I guess, to see that that's the world we live in, dude, is where you can wake up one morning and your whole life can be like completely changed and altered because of your videos. One video can change your fucking life.
What I've looked at now is the sustainability aspect of like, what are we watching? So it's like, why are people watching what they're watching? So if we think back to, let's say, the early 2000s, you had movies, long form. You had TV shows, short form. Like that was the short form. It was the TV. You would watch TV shows and then you would watch a movie. Then you had maybe magazines. Like magazines were another way to get bite-sized content. But there was just different formats throughout what we recognized is the best way to tell stories is through video.
Absolutely.
And so we found ways to basically take video creation and get it down to literally what Vine was, which is the furthest away from a movie.
Yeah.
But still holding on to storytelling, like visual hooks, all these different components that you need in a good TV show, a good like movie, you're taking those same qualities and applying it to mediums of something from 6 seconds to like Mr. Beast's most recent video was 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And like now that's a little bit unheard of in terms of producing high level content, but I don't think it's going to go away from that perspective.
Yeah.
I think what we're on the cusp of is the way that we're filming is going to never be the same. I think the traditional videographer it's going to adapt.
100%.
So I think with like the iPhone, we can get higher quality content out of an iPhone that we used to be able to get out of the best cameras back in 2005.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Like your phone is, dude, people say it all the time on some non-corny shit, but your phone that's your $1 million, that's your business right there, dude. You can pull out a phone, take a video, and now these phones are so, especially those new iPhones, dude, are fucking crazy. Like you can film high quality ass content and just boom, 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 and be quick about it. You don't need this $5,000, $4,000, $3,000 camera setup. And actually, the social media platforms push more iPhone content than they do professional camera work because they just like the quickness. They like the in-body, you know, like people like they say it. Like if you use CapCut or you use Instagram to edit your videos, for some reason they will push more of those videos.
Yep. I was talking about that the other day. I wrote out an email to our clients and I was literally saying that exact same thing where I was like, what people used to do is they used to overcompensate for a shitty idea with high level equipment.
Yeah.
Like how many fucking projects have we seen where it's like you got the best equipment, but it's just boring and you fall asleep during it? That's all has to do with pre-production.
Yep.
And so the idea was with social media, you know, spontaneity is huge. Like just if all of a sudden Ryan shits his pants in the moment and we just so happen to catch it on video, like that's going to go because it's spontaneous and nobody really understands that.
Yeah.
But the reality that I started to see, especially being a content agency, is we are going to have to pivot what our value that we provide to people is. Because it used to be you could go and get, and you still can, get a couple $100 for showing up and just getting the video.
Yeah.
Right? Now I think there's more value in the plan behind it, the post-production, everything that you do, than in just the creation of it itself. The best example of this is we used to have a client who's a roofer, and he started doing metaglasses content where he would wear the metaglasses and go door to door. And just like he used to have a videographer that used to sit in the truck, mic him up, zoom all the way in, and fucking get him on the doors. Now he just uses the metaglasses.
That's sick.
Glasses.
I kind of like that. That's cool.
And the fucking content is performing better than his other shit.
Wow.
So think about that aspect of like what does that look like turned up to the 10th degree? Well, you can capture everything and everything's going to be from a POV perspective, but you're going to be able to do like the videoing of things is going to become less and less important and just everything's going to be video.
Yeah. I've definitely realized that a lot more lately. And that's something that's been really hard for me as like a creator, dude, is like I like where I'm at and where I feel like my level is like I hate pushing out shit content, right? I'm a perfectionist. I take hours and hours to do what I do. But now there's times where I'm seeing that some of my best performing videos personally for myself were videos I threw together in like fucking like 20, 30 minutes. And I'm starting to realize it's like, dude, if you were to get a client, like you can't just sit here and I mean, opportunity cost. I don't have enough time in my day to do what I do at this crazy volume. And it's almost like if you can just put out good, fast, simple, like quality content that is just good in a high volume, I feel like that speaks more than putting together these one video that takes 8 hours. So there are these times where it is a little bit harder than the norm for me at least. But like what you're saying is it's like the content that we digest, bro, and like it's everything has to have a sole purpose when I look at it, right? At the end of the day, like going into something, that's what I always tell my clients is it's very fucking important that you understand that this is not just something you go out and you do. There's got to be a purpose behind what you're doing, whether that be what you're saying, what's being filmed, the message you're trying to get across to your user. It's all calculated, bro. Because if you're just going into it blinded, I think that's probably how you don't really get what you're looking for. And I can tell that, like going on social media and stuff, when you can tell when people are just kind of like, and those videographers and content creators and marketing agencies, they just go do it to go do it. They're just getting a bag. They're just getting a check.
It's
they don't care about what you're fucking getting out of it. They don't care that your video got 5,000 views or 1,000 views or whatever, or you look stupid as fuck. Like you look stupid in this video because they could have just told you to stand straight up instead of looking like a hunchback, but they didn't. And like, that's the kind of shit. Like example, just talked to this guy the other day. He's like, I was like, you have a marketing agency, right? That does all your stuff. He's like, yeah. I was like, how much do you pay them? Mind me asking you. And he's like, I pay him like $4,000. And I was like, $4,000? Your videos are like, bro, $4,000? I was like sitting here and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Everything is just so beat about it. And it's like I don't think people understand that how everything is so calculated as far as putting things together. Like we talked about it in the beginning, bro. Yo, this shit, lighting, cameras, all this stuff, it's all gotta be, it's like a little equation. But when you get it right, dude, I feel like, you know, the end result is always good.
This is like the example of like a high quality podcast is very different than what we're talking about in terms of content creation at scale.
Yeah.
The podcast is a great way to create content at scale. It's
for sure
the best.
Because you're just having a conversation where you could just sit here and chop, edit.
But you have to have dance partners, which is like the people that are on the show that actually know what the fuck they're doing.
It's true.
Because you like I've sat on podcasts where like I'll ask somebody an opening question like, how's your day? And they'll just go on a fucking 30-minute diatribe about their day. And I'm like,
oh God,
I can't even keep up.
Yeah.
And like people think that that's like normal.
Yeah.
But like it's funny because I think the podcasting is such a great way to see how you are in social interactions, because it's like whether you're feeling like you're on a podcast or you're feeling like you're having a normal conversation, it fucking comes out. Like I talk a fucking lot. Oh, sometimes I'll listen to my podcast and I'll be like, when was somebody just gonna tell me to shut the fuck up? Like I can't even like but there's that idea of creating podcasts is for some people, they use it as a lazy way to create content. And they're like, why am I not performing? I'm like, because you got 20 clips out of an hour podcast. Like, you didn't say 20 interesting things in that fucking podcast. Like, let's get real, dude.
It's about personality.
Yes.
That's what we talk about with the personal branding clients, bro. The reason why for months you're not getting views or why you're not doing good is because I hate to tell you, dude, but you can't buy a personality. You can't tell someone to change their personality. Yeah. You can't expect this guy who's boring or quiet to come in and all of a sudden wake up and be like, okay, I'm going to be this person. Usually you got it or you don't have it. Or you need to make that decision in your fucking head where you're like, okay, I am going to be different. I'm going to be better. I'm going to be more outgoing. I'm going to, like, the way I carry myself is different. We already know where I'm going with this with that one guy, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You cannot you can't get mad or upset at the end of the day when you're looking at your views or your progress, because you kind of stem from it, dude. Like if you're I think that's funny that you sit here and say like, bro, a podcast is how someone is in their social interaction. First 5 minutes, I'm a little bit fucking nervous, huh? I'm literally like a little bit like, you know, a little uptight. But you realize it's about how do you interact on spot. Like,
I was talking to this co-founder or this founder yesterday about his brand. And there is a problem that I've recognized with being a business owner and creating content is you can't be truly authentic.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about the fact that he had to fire somebody that day. And he's like, dude, I could make a great piece of content around this idea of like what I'm going through. And like that shit fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like that is one of the lowest points of a business owner. You're a provider. Yeah. You're helping people like live their lives. And then all of a sudden you have to take that away from somebody. It was this very emotional moment, but he can't go out and post that in an authentic way.
Oh, no.
And so there is this, it just depends on what your goal is when you go on social media. But the thing that I've recognized is if you are unwilling to be truly authentic, and authentic does not mean that you say everything that's on your brain, but it's, are you willing to be, if you are innately weird or you're innately boring, can you make fun of yourself? And can you show that?
Yeah.
Or what's way worse is if you are a boring person that has boring interests, and then you try to go on camera and act like you're an interesting person that likes all these things.
You can literally see through it.
You can see.
It's like when you're in a fraternity and that guy comes up and he's like, "I want to pledge, I want to rush," and he's like, "Oh, dude, I get chicks, I drive this," and you're just sitting there and you're like, "Dude, I know that you're fucking lying to me right now." It's like I can see through the smoke and mirrors. You don't get laid. You don't have this. You don't go out to the clubs, and that's fine. But don't sit here and like try to tell us that you do.
50 of us.
We all fucking know that you're lying.
Yeah.
So no, you're not fucking rushing this frat.
Well, like
the good days.
The people that watch this, I've actually found there's 17 to 30. Like that's their age range. They're 17 to 30. So they're either coming into college, coming into high school, like getting almost into that phase where they're trying to build their profession.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to have that perspective, knowing what I know now, because I mean, we've all, us three have been in a fraternity. Like there is that level of like, you have to be very comfortable with who you are going into that next phase of your life.
For sure. But like I told you, dude, I was a dork. Like I was a nerd. I always played sports and stuff in school. I always like talked to people. I always did things to be active and involved with like the cool kids, but I was a fucking dork. And it wasn't until I got to college, bro, and when I was still a dork up until when I rushed a fraternity. And that's why everybody sits here and shits on the frat life and people think it's so douchey and why would you do that? But looking back at it, dude, if I didn't go into a fraternity, I don't think I'd have the social skills that I have now. I also failed out of college. I mean, let's be fucking real. Like, I sit here and I look back and I'm like, wow, I spent $75,000 to fail out of college. But that was a $75,000 lesson that it gave me social skills. It gave me confidence to walk up to people. It changed me internally from not being this reserved person to where I could walk up to fucking anybody and I would say whatever the hell I say. You guys know me now. I'm a fucking goof. Like I'll talk to anybody in my authentic self, and that was only because I feel like of that lifestyle.
I'll give you a quick story on that. My freshman year, when I came down to FGCU, it was like a turn of a new leaf.
Yeah.
Like I was so obsessed with football through high school. I was a football guy. I would, I just, that was my personality.
Yeah.
I didn't have layers to who I was. I was just the guy that loved football. And then if I wasn't that, I was the guy that loves health and fitness. And that was just my whole personality. But that left me kind of shelled out of like,
of course,
I just wasn't that guy. But I come to college, and the specific thing that I'm thinking about was there was a girl that I met when I first came to college. And I was like, this girl is fucking smoke show.
She was bad.
And where I was at the time in North Carolina, like a North Carolina 6 is a Florida 3.
Wow.
It's like, that's really what it comes down to. So then a Florida 10 is like a North Carolina 14, basically. But this girl was like a fucking Florida 8. And I was like, oh my God. Florida and I 8. Remember before, because I went summer B. So before I ever thought about pledging Pike, I threw up shot after shot after shot on the same girl. Didn't give me the light of day. Just all friend zone, all fucking whatever. But I played the long game. I was like, fine. Second, I became a pledge of Pike. Now all of a sudden she's coming over. She's coming over. She's hanging out with me more. She's sending me more mixed signals. And I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't know that this was like, I didn't know that this is reality. Then next thing you know, I became a full-blown Pike like brother. Now all of a sudden, she's at a social and she's coming up to me, trying to make out with me, and it's this whole fucking thing. the whole point of that story was I recognized that it wasn't the fact that I was a part of this thing that was making her attracted to me. It's that because I was attached to something that was bigger than myself, my confidence level was so sky high that she felt that.
That's what they say with the law of attraction, bro. You attract what you put out. You know what I mean? Like if you are this outgoing, confident ass person and you're happy and you're just naturally happy, you're not doing things to like impress certain people, you're just living your life to the fullest, bro, you will attract what you want to attract. Same thing. I remember, bro, that story I can jive with so well because first off, I was a fat little fucker, man. Like, I was fat. Like, and when I joined the fraternity, like, you know, the fucking realm that goes. You're always just at the house, you're always doing things. There's no really time to get fat because you're working out and then you're getting hazed. Wait, did I say that? By hazed, I mean not like super bad, but kind of. No. Dude, like you're just in that mind. Like, bro, I always remember no female wanted me, right? As soon as I put those letters on me, like it was easy. It was so easy. Like girls would just walk up to me and, oh my God, you're this and that. You're this. Oh, you're in this. And it's like looking back at it, I never did it for the females. I did it because it was sick. It was a great experience. I think everybody should go through it personally, but it is funny how that happens because you think about it. I was so confident when I put those letters on. I was a fucking completely different person. You know what I mean? So,
do you guys think fraternities are gonna stay around?
Yeah.
10 years?
Yeah. If something's been around since the 1800s, I think the more that colleges actually try to squish them, which like we were all a part of it. Like our fraternity was threatened to get kicked off campus so many fucking times. Yeah. And what my point that I was literally just going to say before that is college, the fraternity aspect of what you do is so important because of the confidence that it provides you. But way more than that is like, I'll tell kids when they first come in, like if you were a dork in high school, dude, go use Pike Pike was a fraternity that I was a part of. Go use that fraternity to its maximum value. So like people are going to give you attention that would have never given you attention.
Exactly.
You're going to be able to go on campus and walk with a swagger that if you weren't a part of the fraternity, you wouldn't be able to do. All that stuff is very true. And I tell people to lean into it. I tell people, dude, party your ass off. It's so much fun. It's so not reality. It's so not real life.
For sure.
That I tell people, please utilize it to the maximum capacity. But here is the catch. When you get to the end of the line, at the end of 4 years, 5 years, however long you're in college, it's the transition out of being, I'm no longer the Pike brother so-and-so to now I'm so-and-so. Like you drop that label of I'm a Pike brother.
Yep.
Everybody, you'll see people lose confidence. Now all of a sudden they're back. Like I used to have a conversation with Jason. I used to talk about this all the time where like you come down from like being the man.
Oh yeah.
You come way down. And then you go into real life and you're competing with people that have a shit ton of like
buddy.
I was listening to this fucking
experience everything.
I was talking to one of our old brothers, one of my old brothers at the gym the other day, and he's like, bro, congratulations on getting engaged. Like, dude, I wish it was easier to meet girls in college now that like, because I met Jordan in college, like it wasn't a romantic story. We met at like a bar and like it was like, you know, a normal frat fairy tale in terms of like falling in love with each other. But he was like, dude, girls aren't like that anymore. And I go, no, this will never get easier.
Yeah.
You will never have the amount of opportunities that you have right now in terms of socially, in terms of getting shots up with women, like whatever you're trying to achieve right now, it doesn't get easier when you get out of school. It actually gets harder.
A lot harder.
To meet people, to be friends with people. We were talking about it the other day, dude, like friendships.
Yeah, genuine friendships.
Genuine friendships.
Absolutely.
Like so all of our brothers, all of our Pike brothers who fucking best friends for like all 4 years. they're moving away. Yeah. Life's moving on.
You move on with your life, dude. That's what I mean, dude, I was only in college for 2 years. I rushed my freshman year, but then I stayed back another year trying to like, I would hang out. Like I lived in Morgantown and I would try to hang out and be around because I couldn't imagine leaving. And I remember the day I left school, it was so weird because you fall off completely with a lot of people. That's the same thing when you move. When you're moving, bro, it's so hard to stay in touch with those people. But what I will always say, what I'll always take with me with the frat life is that, and that life in general, is that is where I learned to become the person in business, the person in social activities, females. That is where I learned how to interact. That's where I learned how to take advantage of certain situations. And when I got out, I always said all that stuff was not a waste of time. This is where now all those people are my connections. Crazy as fuck. I just got a gig the other day for next month where it was through a fraternity brother. And it was like, we still stay in touch. I still stay in touch with certain guys, even if I'm not texting them all the time. It's still, we're still like this weird machine. But I really that shit hits different when you were talking about how like you have choices to make, and if you don't have to go into a frat or that lifestyle being like, oh dude, like I just want to fucking rage. But this is your time to party. Because when you get out of school, dude, if you're partying like that, you're high chances you're not getting to where you want to be. I can attest for that. But
you know what's crazy? How did we get Ferrari?
Oh, through
a brother.
Incredible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We got going back to that. 2 years into college, the problem with my situation in college, and some people can attest to that, because I know we'll get a lot of people that are like, well, I'm not a drinker and I don't like drinking and I'm not that guy. And I'm like, okay, let's walk through that. I wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
I didn't smoke I didn't smoke before college.
Smoke what?
I barely drank before college. I didn't do shit before college. And I got into college and I just played a part in what everybody else was doing. Like it just felt right. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
But in 2 years in, I looked at myself and was like, this isn't who I am. Now, did I leave the fraternity? No. But I recognized that the activities that I was participating in wasn't aligned with exactly who I was. Guess what? Did the brothers treat me any different? No. Actually, I tell people all the time, because I get a lot of these questions of like, when do you start to check out? When do you start putting the fraternity life behind you? And I go, great rule of thumb. The first couple of years, bar nights, awesome. Like Keys, like for us, it was Keys Bar on Wednesday night. It was ladies' night, great. Rhythm House on a Friday night, great. Rusty's Bar on a Tuesday, fucking money. All these things in your first year, 2 years, participate in everything. Go to everything. On the flip side, the parties, the socials, always participate in that. What I tell people is the biggest switch is the older you get, on that Tuesday night that you used to just go to the same bar where the same people are, trade that night in for going to a brother's house or going to your boy's house, sitting on the couch and fucking bullshitting.
Yeah.
For hours, watching TV. Like those moments are what I hold on to.
Those are the best moments, bro. The carefree moments, dude. Where you just sat there, you didn't go out. You just sit there and you have a conversation till fucking 3 o'clock. Dude, when you check your phone and you're like, oh, fuck, I better go to bed. Those conversations.
You get that, though. You
I
get
think,
that.
I think the thing we can all take away from this, because we've been talking about this like lifestyle and this whole thing, is like, dude, it applies to every part of your life, bro. Like everything. I mean, I think it's corny. Sometimes I sit here and I'm like, God, dude, the frat life, man. If that, like, oh, I just partied, I do this, and I try to like downplay it sometimes, but I feel like that really has led me to where I am now. And it's funny because I mean, let's be real. You guys know me. I partied till I was 27. I'm 28. I still party, but I don't party like I used to. I mean, it took me a long time to get over that hump, but there is so many things to take away from that lifestyle. And I would never trade any of that for the world, bro. I don't give a fuck if I spent $75,000 on school. I still, to this day, cherish every moment and everything I ever did. You know, I will never go back. If I had the chance to go back in my life and redo it, I would never read. I would do exactly what I did.
My 100%. Mom gave me a good perspective on the fraternity life. Because we talked about the confidence of like wearing a Letterman and being out in a college campus and wearing Pike and being like, I'm the fucking man. And like, how do you take that confidence that you had in your college experience and transfer that into real life? Well, for us at Pike, our values were scholars, leaders, athletes, and gentlemen. That was our, like, those were our pillars. That's what we represented. That's what was beat into us from the very beginning of like, this is who we are. And
he said beat into us.
Beat into us. Beat into us. But that was what was ingrained in us from the very beginning of like, this is how you're going to represent yourself.
Yeah.
The confidence and everything doesn't go away if you keep those value systems in check. Every single day, a scholar does not mean that I'm a fucking book nerd, but it means that I love actively learning. Being a leader, you know, I love being a leader. I get a lot of energy from being a leader. Being an athlete, I get so much fucking energy from being an athlete. I get so much confidence from being an athlete. And then a gentleman. It's like, how the fuck else? Like being a good person, being a good Samaritan, being a good contributor to society. My confidence still comes from the quote unquote fraternity, not because I'm Jamie, the kid that was in Pike, but it's because I have those value system. I have the scholars, leaders, athletes, and gentlemen at the top of my head. And it's funny because my mom gave me an interesting perspective where she's like, everybody that I've met from your fraternity had that ingrained in who they were.
Oh, absolutely.
And people think that it's the fraternity that brought them all this confidence, but it's just the reality that you actually believe that you were a scholar, leader, athlete, and gentleman.
Yeah. Like when I was rushing and I saw those 4 pillars, I was like, that's it. I don't know what the other ones were, SIGEP and all. I don't know what theirs were, but I resonated with those 4 pillars. I thought that was like what I represented and what I wanted people I was around to represent. So I think that's a great point. The other thing that I actually want to give some praise to Pike on was when I first joined, it was more of like a business than I ever thought it would be.
Yeah.
And the way we ran it was way more professional at our age than I ever could have imagined. Like, Jamie being the president at one point, we ran this shit.
Oh, you were the president?
Like a business. It was like a business. It was awesome. We had Garrett as our finance guy. We had Amani as our recruitment. And it was just like everyone's wearing a suit. Everyone was on point.
I do miss that.
Pictures.
I do miss wearing a suit all the time and dressing up. Bro, I love that.
It builds confidence. It was like a Sunday morning. We all walk in with suits. You feel like the fucking man.
Yeah.
But what I think fraternity does, if you do it the right way, is it primes you for that entrepreneurial life. I credit Pike to being an entrepreneur in that way. Because I really do think the joy of bringing in money, giving it back to the people that contributed to that growth, which is like a weird way to call business, but Pike was a huge part of just like, this is what it is on a kid scale.
Yeah.
That's exactly
now there's a grown man scale that we're playing, and it's fucking awesome.
But that's exactly what it was. The worst day of my when I got to college, I wanted every title you could imagine because I was a kid that lacked a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And I thought the more titles, once that girl my freshman year started giving me attention because I was a sorority chair. And all of a sudden I was involved in student government. I was like, dude, I was like, I'll take every title you have to offer. And I remember I was just getting into the fraternity. It was my first chapter. And my best friend now just got elected president, Jace. Jace just had gotten elected president. And at that time, I was a freshman and no sophomore had ever won the presidency.
Oh, wow.
And so this was a year before I was even eligible to do so. But I said to Jace, when we're leaving after he got elected, I was like, I will be the youngest Pike president that we have. For no other reason but vanity. Just because I could say that I was the Pike president.
The status?
Yeah, the status of it, 100%. Now, where the story gets interesting is when the rubber meets the road of like, oh, wait, you're actually running an organization that you are liable for. So everybody knows the bullshit when it comes to being in a fraternity. People do dumb shit, but the people at the top can go to fucking
jail. You can go to jail for shit.
My first week as the Pike president,
you're gonna lose your mind.
I was fucking juiced, and we have our first social. And socials back then were fucking stressful because you wanted everybody to show up. And
because if you had a shit turnout, it was like embarrassing.
Oh, all of a sudden you're not the baddest on earth, whatever.
Yeah.
So we have this fucking great first social. Weirdly enough, this is when I was kind of getting out of that phase of like I didn't like drinking as much.
Yeah.
And so for some odd reason, I decided I wasn't gonna black out at this social. It was my first social as a president. I was like, look, I got to keep my fucking head on straight. Never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Later that night, everything's over. I'm like, hey, this is successful. This is a successful event. I'm happy with it. I'm literally about to fall asleep next to Jordan, my now fiance, but I get a call from Jace, and Jace is like, hey, one of the brothers, I'm not going to mention his name, just jumped off the 5th floor of the parking garage after our social. And I was like, fuck you. Don't call me and fucking, I'm not.
Jumped off the 5th level of a parking garage?
I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm not up with the whole, games and shit like that. Fuck you. Like, I'm going to bed. And he goes screaming at me. I'm not joking. This really fucking happened. We're in some fucking deep shit. Like, we gotta go. And immediately I snap into this mode of like crisis management.
Yeah.
And I go to the hospital. There's a fucking group of people. I'm thinking this guy has to be fucking dead. He fell off the 5th floor of the parking garage. And the long story short of it was, it was just a bullshit, dumb decisions all the way around. Luckily, we weren't liable for the situation.
Yeah.
But it was the longest 24 hours of my life. I did not sleep. I got home from the hospital at 4:00 in the morning. I was on calls with the fucking university president at 9 a.m. the next morning. And I'm having sit downs where they're saying, look, you better get your story straight because we're not like, we as a university are not going down for this. You're going to be held liable. All this shit. I think I was 20 years old at the time.
You want to be the president now?
Exactly. And there came a moment where I was like, oh, yeah. I say this now, but be careful what ladder you climb up because you might get to the top of it and realize you don't want to be there.
Don't want to be there. Just like like in our industry, bro, social media. If you get on that level, if you're at that pillar and you're like, wow, there's no turning back. Once you build your foundation in life, whether that be your job, whether that be you being the president of a fraternity, and then you get there and you realize what comes with it, bro. Yeah, sometimes people realize that's not what they want. Because
especially
eyes on you. So much more on you. And think of the people that we have as clients, bro. Those guys, you're pulling millions of views. What you say and what you do can either come back at you and literally fuck you, or it can make you. And I feel like in those situations, example, not going to say his name, but we know the client, if I'm getting millions of views, man, I would be nervous as fuck with what I say in my life because I'm already out of pocket. So it's like, what I really want that smoke of like having to worry all the time about what I'm saying or what I'm doing or how I'm presenting myself. And I don't know. I always think I don't think I'd ever want to be famous ever. I don't think I want to.
The question comes down to, what do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
And that's the big, like when I say the ladder analogy of like climbing up the ladder, it's like, I loved the idea of being a Pike president. Yeah. I loved the status of being a Pike president. But once the rubber meets the road and some 23-year-old or 21-year-old, 20-year-old does some dumb shit that I have no part in. But yet when all of a sudden I'm in a judiciary meeting and I'm the one that's at the one that's at fault when
you're the leader
part of it, you're all of a sudden like, wait, why did I choose to do this? Like what it's the lucky part is I think that was some of the best moments in my life because it taught me that I love that moment. Like the moment that I'll never forget where I really understood what I loved about that was we had an emergency meeting the day after, an emergency chapter. Everybody comes in the room and I haven't slept. It's been fucking 24, 25 hours since that happened. And I'm sitting at the front of the chapter and I kind of just deliver a speech on like what this means and what like we're all sitting here being like, are we going to get kicked off of campus? It was a fucking scary time. And that moment I go, this is like, I love this. I love the feeling of being under the pressure. I love the feeling of like
back against the wall,
fighting yourself out of it.
Fight or flight mode,
exactly.
Baby. That's the best. If you don't like that feeling, then you aren't meant to be a leader, an entrepreneur, none of that shit.
It's just adrenaline.
It's the adrenaline of it. But the thing that I recognize now, being in the position that we're in, it's like when you're building a social media platform, what do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
Because you better choose. Yeah. Because we're in a phase now where people want that clout. Yeah. They want to be that guy. Like we've talked to guys who are part of like the LA crew, like the fucking with the Bradley Martins of the world and those people. You talk to those guys, they are fucking miserable. Yeah. Why? Because they're known for being a fucking party animal.
Or they're known for being an idiot or doing stupid shit. Yeah, that's what they're known for.
And their expectation from their audience is that. Yeah. I wrote something down the other day where I was like, it's so hard to create. Hold on, I'll just pull it up real quick. You guys can keep chatting. But
my thing is this, dude, truly. The status that comes with the fraternity life, if you look back at it, and what I did immediately, I said, wow, the Greek life as a general whole, it's cool, but it's not shit. Because when you get out in the real world, bro, you're not in your little college world and your college town. You start to see that you are not shit as a human being, because there's people with more money, way more people with success, way more people doing bigger, better things. And you realize that that was just a good point in your life where it's like you learned a lot of things, you took a lot with you. But what I took from that point was that I had such a tremendous ego, like I think it was actually worse, and that carried over still years down the line. Like when I started to become successful in my business and I started to become what I would say, quote unquote, I wouldn't call myself the man, but when I started to become more successful in business, I started to see that ego come back out, where I was like, I'm the shit. You know what I mean? Oh, I have this social presence. People like, glorify me for my work or whatever. And I started to see that come out, and I had to stand back just like I did in the frat life and be like, bro, I'm still not shit. Like, and that's the thing, you get in that realm where, I remember I just thought, because, did you ever talk about GDIs and shit? Like people that weren't in frats?
Yeah.
When I used to cook people all the time, like, I'm not hanging out with you. And when I look back at it, I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
it's crazy.
So stupid. It's just such a stupid concept, bro.
And that same kid's gonna be your head.
Exactly, dude. It's so stupid. But that taught me a valuable lesson in life, bro. That taught me, just like in today's world, like when I moved, bro, that was the realest shit ever. Because it's like I went from being in my town where everybody knew me, and I felt like I was on some level, and then when I moved and I realized, oh my God, bro, I'm just a little fish in the barrel, bro. I mean, I ain't shit. Especially moving to Naples, I'm like, yeah, okay, I drive a fucking 2011 Volkswagen Jetta, and these little rich kids are fucking driving around Range Rover Defenders and stuff. I'm like, bro, let me get humbled real quick. And I mean, that was every aspect.
I also think the perception of money becomes so interesting, because when I was in college, I didn't even think about it, really.
Yeah.
Still to this day, like when I look back at like freshman year, it was like I was working the Sorella's job, making good cash. I felt like I was on top of the world.
Yeah.
Then you meet a kid who's a trust fund baby.
Yeah.
And he's just got $100K in the bank,
living off of $70,000 a year.
Like, this happens to people?
What? Yeah.
Am I the only one that's poor? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And you just start getting this realization. And as you grow up and get out of college, you're like, big pond, little fish kind of thing. Absolutely. And you start realizing.
And going back to the idea of when you're like creating content and when you're trying to build your own personal brand, it's hard to create for yourself because you have so much judgment with it.
Oh,
there's so much judgment. And especially 100%. When you don't have the traction that you want to have, it takes so much more discipline to actually keep putting the shots up. It's like there's so many, if you base it only on feelings, you would never post again. And like I think about when you start to process, why am I creating? I think that's when it becomes the biggest thing, because we're just talking about the people out in LA that are working with the OnlyFans girls, and they're creating like they're creating, they're getting viral for getting fucked up and all these types of things. And I wrote this, and it was interesting. But when you're creating for yourself, you put so much more pressure on yourself because it's what you want.
Yeah.
It's not what the world wants. And you still like, there's a line to be drawn where you can't just create selfishly for yourself without thinking about the audience, because how are you providing them value? How are you doing these things? But at the same time, you can very easily become a prisoner of your audience.
100%.
And that when you create a personal brand, when you create on social media, you might be building yourself a jail cell.
Yeah.
Because people will know you and
they have
you
expectations of who you are.
And they don't even know you.
Exactly.
And I've seen so many people build that jail cell for themselves and then realize that they did it, but they don't want to trade the status. They don't want to trade the benefits of having that.
Yeah.
So they will sell all of themselves to their
selling your soul, dude. Sell your soul. Like, look at the rappers, look at all those people. You sell your soul, man.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Well, if I've noticed anything too, it's like the industry we're in with social media, it's powerful.
Absolutely.
And it can be used for good as well as evil.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I've been on both ends.
There's reasons why our clients, other people in the world, are very skeptical and slow to put things out, including myself. I don't like putting anything out, but it's like reputation's at stake.
Yeah.
Any little thing gets said in a different way, you could get a rush of haters, and shit can really hit the fan. So it's like,
but if you're looking at that shit,
that was very important.
The haters part of it, this is where I'm saying, like, you're a prisoner of reality that you created. It's like fucking haters. It's like you post on fucking social media. You know how many miserable people are on the world?
Dude, absolutely.
So many.
I don't even dude, that's dude, I post my real life. I post what I do in my life. Am I flexing that life? Yeah, I'm fucking flexing that life. I came from a 6,000 people town. I literally have a crazy job. I love what I do. I'm very passionate. But there are so many fucking people where I don't even have to say a word. I don't have to speak. I don't have to talk. And they're already watching my shit. And they're like, fuck this guy. Because they in their head are either A, jealous, or B, people don't like to see you win. That's a fact, bro. Nobody likes to see people win. Whenever I saw you go from being who you were to where, I remember, I'll never forget, I DM'd you, I sent you a message when you were in that place in Vegas. I was like, damn, bro, the level up. I said that because I was happy for you.
Yeah.
Think about how many people watched your shit and said, fuck this guy. Or they had this like, oh, this guy's, they like to match success with either being a douchebag or like what would I say? Like material, like how would I
flexing, like
flexing, dude. There is nothing flexing about showing your success as a fucking individual. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like, interesting
in a certain degree. I'm not sitting here and saying, look at my brand new car, and it's not my fucking car. It's like you know what I mean? Like,
well, so that's I was listening to one of these YouTubers that I fucking loved back in the day. Like, fucking watched his shit like everything, and he was talking about now what it was like back then. And he's like, everybody had this idea that we were just printing fucking cash, and I had all these nice cars. It was like a lot of that was for the mystique of what they were doing.
Yeah.
And like you'd be surprised how many people bought cars. Like, content is now business. So like I was at this guy's house the other day who rented his house for like $15,000, which is a fucking mansion. Because $15,000 on a fucking on rent is, you can get amazing fucking shit for it. He had a rented Ferrari, he had a rented Lamborghini, he had a rented all this shit. The guy probably carries expenses somewhere in the ballpark of $50,000 to $60,000 a month for his image.
Yeah.
For his image, not for any other reason. And the other truth of it is, if he dropped all that shit, all of the influx of clients that he has on a monthly basis, gone.
Yeah.
Why? Because he's selling a how to make $10,000 a month course bullshit.
Yeah.
And that dude's got everything rented. And I don't want to sound like
that's some Miami shit right there.
That's exactly what it was too.
Miami. Was it Miami?
Yeah, fucking Miami.
Miami's the fucking armpit of America.
Literally, I mean, the reality that I look at from that perspective is like, good for him. If that makes him happy and he wants to spend that money doing that, dude, all power to you. But the thing that I think people don't realize is when they're building something like that, there's an image to be held.
Yeah.
And the second you back away from that,
yep,
you're fucked.
Exactly. What happens if he doesn't make enough money what happens if he doesn't have that shit? Strip all that shit away from him. Guess what? He is not who he is anymore, and he'll lose everybody that he worked so hard on that image for. That's why it doesn't matter.
I think it's honestly just
materialistic shit doesn't mean
dumb. Because like, look at it from our perspective, looking in, it's like he's saving money by doing this. He's renting. It's technically a business expense. It's like,
yeah, it's
actually a good thing. But social puts him in a position of you cheated your way to the top. Yeah. And it's like,
he
kind of was smart the way
I'm going to be, no. This guy's situation.
Name drop.
But this guy's situation.
Name drop him, Tony.
He is selling a course mastermind to people our age in that 17 to like 25, 30 age range on how to be successful, how to make money, and yet everything you have from a outside's perspective is rented.
Yeah, that changes.
That's fake. That's fake
guru shit. That's fake guru shit.
Fake guru shit. It's like, I look at a guy like Dave Ramsey. You can hate or love his ways about doing things, but like, that dude doesn't fucking, like, he got famous and built his empire selling courses, selling educational material, selling these things. But why do we not look at Dave Ramsey as a fucking as a fake guru? Oh, wait, because his ideas of what he was spreading was spend less money than you make.
Yeah.
That was his whole fucking thing. Spend less money than you make.
He actually lives like that.
And he does that. Yeah. He got over leveraged and had a bunch of debt and then didn't, and then went down to zero and then built everything up from cash. Like, I think about it so much of this idea of like, we're always looking to trade up. We're always looking to trade up the car, trade up the thing, trade up. Like, right now, being 24, I drive a fucking 2010 Honda CR-V.
Yeah.
Could I afford a fucking like nice Volvo and pay that car payment? Of course I could.
This guy said Volvo.
But guess, whatever.
Volvo?
All right, Mercedes.
Yeah, come on,
whatever.
Bro. Volvo? What the hell?
The point of that is, what the fuck am I going to do that for? Is it going to make
your image or like,
listen, that's an important thing. Your image is being crafted is a very important thing. Like, we're not, I'm not degrading that, but like, again, do I care to be known for driving a nice car, or do I care for my work and what I produce and what I create in the world to be what I'm known for? I'd rather that.
Realest shit that anybody's ever said in a rap song was J. Cole, Love Yours. That song hits so different if you don't listen to it for a while and then you listen to it, because it's so true, bro. There will always be a hotter chick than your chick, possibly, unless she's very hot. There will always be a nicer house. There'll always be a nicer car. There'll always be a nicer thing, but you'll never truly appreciate it until you appreciate what you have. And I mean, I turned 29 in 2 weeks, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm still in the same car I drove when I was in fucking college. I still sit here and there's these things that I don't have in my life, which they're all materialistic things. They don't do anything. I'm sitting here and I'm literally contemplating like, oh man, I'm gonna go buy a Porsche Macan. And I'm like, why the fuck would I do that, dude? I have 0 car payment. I am at that point where my clients are like high value clients. I don't want to pull up in a fucking Jetta anymore. But guess what? They don't fucking hire me because I pull up in a Porsche Macan. They hire me because I pull up in my Jetta and I'm the raggedy ass person that I am, and I'm fun and I'm outgoing and I'm just talented at what I do. They don't care about that other shit. And I think that goes in everything in life, bro. You do not. I've seen, bro. We already know. I've seen the way that money makes people be. And it is, and they were never truly happy. I think that a lot of people who have money and showboat it for their image are never genuinely happy, because before this podcast even came on, what did I tell you? I literally said you can buy a new Rolex and you could work your whole life to get you want that watch, and you get that watch And 4 months later, you're like, I want another one because this one, I'm kind of getting old of it. And it's like, bro, you just spent $20,000, $18,000 on a watch, and now you want to get rid of it and get a new one. And that's the way that works. You get a new car, year goes by, you're like, fuck this car, man. I want another car.
Yeah.
And it's
we're just never satisfied.
Once like we're building a business, and once we went from 0 to 1, like everybody talks about like $10,000 a month, and $10,000 a month is a key to financial wealth and all this type of stuff. And I recognized something the other day. I don't give a fuck about the top line revenue.
Yeah.
I care about the bottom line revenue.
Yeah.
How much profit is the company producing? Not because I want to buy the thing or I want to do the thing. I want the thing to survive.
Sure.
Like, so when you're building something, like one of my favorite people that we talk to is talking to Blaze.
Yeah.
Because that dude he lives the flashy lifestyle. Like, you can look at his shit and be like, whoa, like this dude's got fucking bankroll, but he doesn't have to sell a house for a fucking year, and he's gonna be fine. That's that fucking real money.
He came from, I love Blaze and his story because that dude came from being a guy, and this also inspires me, not just with Blaze, but with other people in this area. Most of the people that move to Naples, bro, a lot of them are like foreign, you know, they're international. They come over here and they don't got shit.
Yep.
And he came over here and worked 3 jobs. And I remember 2 years ago when he, like the first time I ever met him, and he was telling me, he's like, I used to work at that Starbucks down there, and we were in his office. And he goes, every day I said, I'm going to work at that office right there. And what do? After 3 jobs later, after working 3 jobs at the same time and getting to that point, he now sits in that office and looks down at where he used to work.
Yeah.
Blaze is somebody who I like. It's like, bro, I think that he is the perfect example of, he can have nice shit and flashy shit, and I don't look at him and say, wow, this guy's a douchebag, or he's trying to show off, because he actually started at 0 and got to 100. And if you do that, bro, flex. Do what you got to do. Where's nice
like
stuff.
What makes you feel good?
Yeah.
It's like last year I lived a life, like before like we really got things wrong, I lived a life that everybody watched my story and was like, dude, this motherfucker's successful, dog. Like, this dude's living life. And I was traveling every fucking weekend, and I was all over the country. Dude, I was depressed as fuck. And I didn't have fucking no money coming. Like, I had consistent money coming in, which isn't bad by any means. But I started to look at it and I go, okay, I know I want to build something great. I know I want to build great product. I know I want to provide great services. Like, these are all things that I innately love to do. I love making people around me better. But what do I actually want? Yeah. And it wasn't until I decided I don't really care about clothes. I don't buy fucking clothes. Like, I just don't. Like, Zimm looks better than me in every situation, like from a fashion perspective, just outdoes it. Now, the thing is, I know I need to craft an image, and I know I need to dress well. And Zimm's actually one of the first people that would actually tell me that, because I would just show up like a bum. But
I was like, dude, you need to put a different fucking outfit.
Well, just how about match? How about just like not wear fucking
blue and black? Yeah, don't go together, dude.
But it was like this idea of I played a game for a year plus where I was up that ladder again. I wanted to look the way. I wanted to feel the way. And I recognize that just like we were talking about with social media, you're building a jail cell for yourself. Because then you create expectations in other people of who you are. And the second you let them down, now all of a sudden you feel like the world's ended. But the reality is, like, I run my business because I love servicing the people that we service. I love creating. I built this business because I wanted to create. It's fucking 7 o'clock. We started this podcast at 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't give a fuck. I gotta do this till 7 o'clock at night because I love creating. Yeah. And then the other thing is, I don't want a motherfucking boss. Yeah. And a lot of people say that, and they're like, oh, it means that I don't have to work as much and I get to do whatever I want to do. And it's like, yeah, fucking right. No, you just don't have anybody telling you what the fuck to do. Yeah. You still got a list of shit.
It makes it harder when you got to learn it yourself and put your own action forward. Because if you're not holding yourself accountable,
Dude,
nothing moved.
I can remember the day. I can remember the day I told my roommates. I said I quit my job. They're like, "Why the fuck would you do that, dude? Like, you have rent to pay and stuff." I said, "I don't give a shit. I'm quitting." I quit my job. I remember I had like $300 left after I bought everything. I'm like, "Damn, rent $600." But you know what, bro? That situation in my life, bro, was like that moment where it's like, see, they're sitting here saying this, but I know in my head, dude, that I have got to grind because I don't have a boss anymore. I don't have somebody telling me to go to work. I have to go to work. But that's where dude, I can remember, and I still to this day, I just like I can remember the grind, and I remember like, okay, nobody's gonna tell me to do this, but I'm gonna do it because that's what I know. But it's transpired, and I don't know if you feel this way, but dude, there is so many more days now where I catch myself, I don't have a day off. Most of the time, I'm working. Most of the time, I'd say 90% of my 95% of my life is like when my mom or dad calls me and says, "What's new?" I'm like, "Oh, just work." Because it's the truth. It is, and it becomes toxic though, bro. It becomes this hustle culture where I can't even sit at a fucking restaurant and eat a meal without being like, damn, dude, should I even be out right now? Or should I be at my house doing something? Or I can't, you can't enjoy those moments, which in turn, it's like everybody sits there. When people say they want to run their own business, I'm like laughing because I know what it's for. I know why they're saying that because they don't want to work for, Paul. They don't want to work for this guy. But trust me, when you get in that business mode, bro, you work every fucking day. And if you don't work every day, then you're not going to be like, your business is not going to be where you want it to be.
So I think there's a big, I'm trying to drill in on this because I have looked at myself and I look at the hustle culture that we live in and I go, if this is how social media portrays it, if this is what success is, I don't want it.
I don't want it either.
I don't want it. If it means that you're a slave to your company, if it means that you're a slave to other people in that perspective, because like you can build, just like we were talking about with social media, just like we were talking about with all that other shit, you can build a business that you just build yourself a little 4x4 jail cell.
Yep.
And it's hard to get out of.
You know what that does, bro? What did I fucking tell you, Tony? Right before this, I said, dude, I used to love what I did. I used to love what I did. And I wasn't getting paid a fucking dime for it. And I can remember the feelings and the emotions and the way that I felt whenever I was starting out. And what I will say is that, yeah, bro, my life is completely tenfold different. There is so many things I do now where I still am like I'm not like that anymore. I'm not excited anymore. I'm not fucking hyped to do this or I'm not to do that because you know what it is? I'm just doing it to get money. I'm not doing it because I love it. I'm doing it because that's what pays my bills. And those are the ones, that's that kind of stuff in life. It's like, bro, I'm sure you've had those moments too, bro, because everybody goes through it, I feel like. But my passion and my drive and my love for what I do now was so strong in the beginning. And I'm starting to come back to that now. But that's because I'm learning to appreciate the smaller things, because when you get when you dive into your business, bro, and you're working all the time, you forget what truly makes you happy. You don't live in the moment sometimes. And I tell that to people all the time. Like, I don't want to go on a preaching route, but bro, I live a lifestyle that most people don't get to ever experience. And I become very numb to that lifestyle where in the moment I'm like, wow, this is sick, but I actually don't fully take it all in. I'm driving a fucking Lamborghini Urus for 3 days. People don't even get to sit in that car sometimes. I'm driving it for 3 days and I'm still, when I get out of that car, I'm still like not happy. I'm still like, it's weird. Like, or I'm filming this giant ass house that a 1%er buys. I still sometimes don't enjoy it. And I think that's really important, is to take a step back in your life and appreciate every fucking moment, every relationship, every moment. You got to find that happiness inside of you, because I, for a year and a half, bro, literally hated my fucking life. I hated my life and I lived the craziest life.
Yeah.
And that shit never brought happiness, man. I was the most depressed I ever was when I was flying on private jets and fucking doing all that shit. Sad.
It's
a sad moment in my life.
That's where I look at when you're building a business. A couple of things that I think about. Are you building in terms of months, or are you building in terms of decades?
Yeah.
And people say that shit, and people will roll their eyes when they're looking at a 24-year-old talking about decades when building a business.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, I tell Ryan every fucking day, the goal is to keep the fucking dream alive. That's it. And the reality is, this is a fucking dream.
The dream is being a business owner that can get paid to do what they love to do and pay their bills and make money and
give
make
immense value
to people. Yeah,
exactly. I was talking about that, like, from the perspective of if tomorrow we just quit, right?
Yeah.
If tomorrow we just said, fuck it, you know what? We're done. The thing that I recognize more than anything is the value. The reason why we're in the circles that we're in, the reason why people are attracted to us in the way that we are, is because of the value that we provide to them.
Absolutely.
Based on the skill sets that we acquire.
Absolutely.
And that's where people just get in their brain. They don't understand it.
But they also like you as a person, bro. That's what I've realized more than anything. You can give the best content. And I know people who are great videographers in this town. And I'm not going to say the names, but those people as general, they're not like super outgoing. They're not super like the people hire them for their work and stuff. And they probably think the guy's a great person. But bro, people hire you, Grit, me, everybody, because they fucking like us as people. They like the energy we give off. You know what I mean? That's super important.
And that's what you have to protect. And that's the thing that people don't realize.
Exactly.
Is they will sell their soul for their top line.
Absolutely.
They will sell their soul for their top line. Like, in our business, it's not necessarily the more clients you have, the more you're winning.
No.
It's not the case.
The
better clients that you have, the more you're winning.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at that, I didn't realize this until I read Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. I used to, like, this training block for Quest for the Crest was one of the most intense training blocks of my fucking life. I'm running, training, 10 hours, 12 hours a week.
Yeah.
10 to 12 hours of my week is just gone to training. And there was so much anxiety in my body because of that, because I had never given 10 to 12 hours of something
to training.
Yeah. When I know I used that time that I just replaced with training used to just go all into the business. It was 10 to 12 hours that was gone to the business. I have felt better mentally, physically. Our business has performed better when I invested more time into myself than the business. Because everybody is like, oh, you got to work 16 hours a day. And there is days that you have to work 16 hours.
Yeah.
But like I tell Ryan and like I tell everybody, do not create those days. Some people love the fucking idea of working hard that they waste all their time working.
Yeah.
Waste time. They're not doing productive.
You ever work so hard on your work and not on like your actual life? I mean, there has been a week where I woke up every day and I felt like I couldn't even clean my fucking house because I had to work. How sad is that? I couldn't put the dishes away because I felt like putting the dishes away took too much time away from work. It's some real shit, bro.
Yep.
And the thing that attracted me to Grit so much and you guys was, as people, bro, you always said, and even though I was in a really weird mental spot at that time, it was like you always said, take care of yourself first before you take care of anything.
Yeah.
And you know what? I can say in the past 5 months of my life, bro, there's been a lot of hard times. But every day and every week, the more I work on myself and focus on me and not just business or not anything else, bro, I have become a whole different person, a fucking animal. Like, as far as my work has been going better, my life mentally has been going better. My confidence is back up. I mean, it all stems from that. But
my favorite advice that I ever got from a business owner who's very successful was, business is the balance between intensity and consistency. He said, I would rather every single day participate in making things better than spend 20 hours for 3 months and then not be, because my physical self isn't able to like do anything.
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you're out of commish for a fucking month because you're sick and you're this and you're that. Like when I talk about decades, I want to be able to do what I'm doing now for the next 10 years. Does that mean that I'm going to, I think my favorite thing that I learned recently was like, look at your calendar and then compare your calendar this week to this time last year. That difference will show you how much you've grown.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing the same actions and you're putting in the same inputs, you'll get the same results. You will.
Yeah.
And so when you start to think about it's consistency, not intensity, or it's consistency mixed with intensity, and then it's about the actions that you're performing, not just intensity all day, every day. It's like fucking, okay, spend all day working.
Yeah.
And then tell me what you actually worked on, and then we'll see if it actually mattered.
Yeah.
But you can't let that be mistaken with getting instant gratification from the work that you performed. Because a lot of the work that you do, you won't see the fruits of your labor to for months and months and months and months later.
You know how long it took just to get a compliment, bro? Like just to get somebody to look at me and be like, yo, dude, what you're doing is sick. What you're doing is awesome. What you're doing is this. I remember the first time someone said it to me, I didn't believe them because I never heard it. It's like that story. Like you sit here and you say, people looked at my story and they were like, "Oh, dude, that guy's successful." This, bro, ain't nobody tells you that. Nobody tells you that. I don't need validation from somebody, but it is funny when you have, let's say, 300 people watched your story, and all you do is tell someone to go like a video, and maybe 5 people go do it. It's like, you sick bastards. Like, how are you? Like, I just think it's so weird that, like, you know. My thing is I always support people that I like and that I'm friends with and that I know. And I think that's like one of those things. It took a really long time, and it actually, I was going to quit. I wanted to quit so many times because I never got that validation that I was doing something good. And when you go on the internet, it's so easy to compare yourself to 1,000 other people because you see that guy's getting all the love and fruits of his labor, and then you sit here and you're like, well, am I good enough? And I think that if you just put that to the side and you just keep fucking grinding and you don't worry about that,
focus on the inputs, focus on learning, focus on trying to get better. My girlfriend, my now fiance,
spicy.
When we were deciding on whether we were going to get engaged or not, because everybody has to have these very deep conversations, or at least we did, where we had these very deep conversations. And one of her biggest fears was like, she believed that I was just going to work myself until I died. And she asked me, like, when is it going to be enough for you? And I go, as long as I'm alive, I will be improving myself, improving the immediate circle around me, which for me is the company, the people that I work alongside.
Of course.
And then the next level of that, which is improving the community that I want to build. And so it doesn't matter what it looks like, and it's always going to change.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm alive, I myself am going to be getting better. The people around me, I'm going to try to help them get better, and I'm going to help make the community around me better. And it was a moment where I was like, I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
I can't. And when we got engaged, most people have these like romantic, like, ever since I knew like this was going to be da 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 da. And I looked at her when we were getting engaged, and I was like, I can't tell you this is going to get easier.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Yeah.
I can't tell you this is going to get easier, but I know it's worth it.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to take that journey with me, let's fucking do it.
Love that.
And I was like, it's just that moment of, we do so much for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you still, like, tying it all together, it's like you still have to enjoy your today. Because if you don't
live in the fucking present.
That's the
facts.
Yeah, control what you can control. If it's out of your control, it's a waste of your fucking mental capacity or any effort you could put.
You got to make that list. Control, not control.
You'd
be surprised how much is on the list of not controlling, you know?
Don't even look at it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I could definitely. What time's your next podcast, by the way?
I don't know, but I got pissed.
10 minutes. This was a fucking.
This is good.
This was a good episode.
Gangster.
Yeah,
this is gangster. We'll get this. We'll get this up. Zimm will be back. If you guys liked it, for the 25 people that do watch this, please like DM. Speaking of instant gratification, send a DM. How about let us know that you like what you're watching, you care about it. Like the 1 or 2 people that have reached out to me and like actually been like, yo, I love the podcast. Like, I don't think you guys understand how much that does for us to continue to keep going. I know for sure the podcast has taken many forms. We're going to control who we're talking to. So expect a lot more of this conversation, talking to the younger versions of ourselves, because I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the fuck my life looks like in 20 years. I'm not talking to a 40-year-old that, you know, has already lived a big life. Like, I'm talking to the people that I was, the high school version of myself, the college version of myself. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment of your favorite part of the video, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.